Hi guys, so today we've got two workouts to work through. First, starting off with an every 3 minutes times 6, super leggy, so you're looking at 12 elevated split squats, weighted if you can. Then doing 12 Cyclist goblet squats and 24 glute bridges in that frog stance. Once you've done that, 14-minute AMRAP of 42 double unders, 21 suitcase lunges, 14 hang power cleans, and then 7 of the toes to dumbbell. Your warm-up today, you've got an 8-minute EMOM of windscreen wipers, narrow stance squat, 10-meter duck walk, and then 20 plank shoulder taps. So just starting with those windscreen wipers, find yourself a space on the floor. You can either do this with straight or bent legs. Arms are coming out to the side, and you're just going to drop the knees to each side. It's slightly harder if the legs are straight. Just have to make sure you've got enough space as you go up and over. So you're working for about 40 seconds, then you'd move on to the narrow stance squat. So looking at a 3-second pause in the bottom. So if you can, just narrower than your normal stance. If you can go hip width, fantastic, but just make sure you still hit full depth. So sending your hips back and down, hip crease goes below the knee, and you're pausing for 3, 2, 1 in that bottom position, and then standing up tall at the top. So still hitting full range of motion, making sure the knees track over the toes, but just going narrower than you normally would do. The duck walk, sinking down into the bottom of that squat, keeping the hip below the knee, and you're just going to walk 10 meters, and then rest the rest of that minute. And then finally looking at your plank shoulder taps, so coming down into your push-up position, and just tap, same hand, same shoulder for the 20 reps. So twice through for the EMOM to be completed. Once you've done the warm-up, moving on to the workout. So starting off with the split squats. So you're elevating the back leg. Again, making sure you hit that full range of motion so hip crease goes below the knee. In terms of loading up, I suggest holding the weight to the chest, just because it's slightly easier to balance with weight distribution. So foot comes back up on a bench or seat behind you. You're going to send your hips back and down, and then stand up tall at the top. Biggest fault I see with these is that people don't come far enough forward with that front leg, and they go super close to the object behind them. And when they come down, it's really difficult to get the depth. So do make sure you step that front foot forward so that you give your hips enough space to come through. So once you've done those, 6 on each side, you're moving on to the Cyclist goblet squat. So these are looking at loading the quads. So just going to look to elevate the heels. And you're going to come into a narrow squat position. With the heels elevated, it makes it slightly easier to get down to the bottom of the squat, because you're not relying on too much ankle mobility because the heel is elevated. So holding the weight to the chest, sending the hips back and down as you normally would do, and then standing tall at the top. Again, the knees stay tracking over the toes, the chest stays nice and upright, but it's super, super quaddy. Great exercise and something slightly different for you guys. So 12 of those. And then moving on to the glute bridges. So these will be coming down to the ground. You're going to pop your feet together and your knees down to the ground in the frog leg position. And you're just going to raise your hips up nice and high. Squeeze the glutes at the top. And then drop back down. This is where they're going to start to get tough, especially after those split squats and the cyclist squats. So once you've completed your reps, you rest the rest of the 3 minutes, and you're just repeating that for the 6 rounds. Once you've done that, you've got a 14-minute AMRAP, so 42 either double unders, or you can do penguin taps for the 42 reps. Then moving on to suitcase lunges. So the suitcase just refers to where you're holding the object, which is going to be by the sides. If you've got 2, that would be fantastic, but if you've only got 1 weight, don't worry. And then it's just your normal lunge, so knee comes down to the ground and we push back up. Then you'd be moving on to the hang power cleans. So with your dumbbells, hopefully, down to the side, cleaning it up, catching it at the shoulder. Again, if you've got two, fantastic. If not, you can just switch arms. And then finally moving on to the toes to dumbbell, laying down flat, weight comes above your head, and you'll bring in your feet up to touch the object, and then come back down. If you've got super tight hamstrings, guys, putting a bend in the knee is absolutely fine, but if you can keep them straight, it'll make it slightly harder. And that's your workout, guys. Hope it all goes okay. Fingers crossed you can get into a class. Have a great day.